Not too hot, not too cold, not too pricey, not too old. This has always been Sony's mantra, and this has made them millions. And in their net worth, trillions. You see, Sony was never really the best at everything. For example, let's take a look at the Xbox versus PS5. The Xbox is obviously better than the PS5 at every single spec comparison you can actually throw at it. Yet, the PS5 sold more. And the XM5s are a little bit shaggy when you compare them to Bose headphones in the same price range. But the XM5s sold more. Well, I personally attribute these sales to 5 things that Sony is doing that other companies seem to be doing on a lesser level, or not at all. Let's take a look at all of them right in this video. Chapter number 1. Build for Goldilocks first. It is my personal belief that you have to learn something through example for it to stick in your head. And so now, I'm gonna teach you through example. An example which is a comparison between an alien set-top box flipped upright and a portable refrigerator. So let's start the comparison. I want you to look at the spec sheets of these two that I've put side by side on screen and tell me. The question is, who is the guy, or what is the range of guys who will buy this thingy? Let's see. The Xbox has more horsepower, it can play video games in 8K, and it has a few nostalgic game studios that could make sequels to existing titles and new games. Okay, now the PS5, they're taking to support indie studios, which will give them new concepts for games, and they are also trying to keep the power lesser for some reason, because they think that 4K 120 FPS or 60 FPS is enough. Okay, now these are the two spec profiles of our thingies, and now let's think about the person who will buy each. Now, the portable refrigerator, people who are nostalgic about old games and want to have something like the old pattern that's comfy with them and have a little bit more in terms of cash to spend. Now, that's for the portable refrigerator. Now, the alien setup box, that's flipped upright. Let's take a look at that. New indie games that are really cool, like Valheim, Raft, and so on. And old titles such as God of War and the next series. Well, I wonder who would buy that. The nostalgic people that Xbox went for, and the people who would like to play new indie games, and the people who have a little lesser in terms of cash. Yeah, that's basically everybody Xbox is going for and more, isn't it? So you tell me, who built better for Goldilocks, Sony or Microsoft? Well, I'd argue it's Sony with you all night if you wanted me to, but I'm afraid if I did that, I wouldn't be able to share more stuff that Sony is doing with you all. The second of which is chapter number 2, build for the bears if Goldilocks is already served. Now look into the center of this spiral. Go down to the subscription button and click on it. You may now go down to the comment section and put what you would have thunk about this video if I had not hypnotized you. Now put that in the comment section and come up. Press the like button and take your eyes off the center of the spiral. Essentially, if Goldilocks is already served, you just have to serve the person who wants to drink lava hot soup and sleep on a queen-size mattress. Name any other phone than the Sony Xperia, which has a 1-inch sensor, very well optimized manual camera settings, and a 4K display which is OLED. Well, I can't really think of many other phones than the Xperia. So, Sony served the bears, the enthusiasts who really want this stuff, and they made them drink lava hot soup for it. Now that's the second thing that Sony's been doing extremely well. And the third thing is, the least to say, something that a lot of modern day startups fail to catch and fail as a result. So, chapter number 3 is as follows. Chapter number 3, Building a North Star. Now, me and you, buddy, we might just have to draw up the Goldilocks analogy because that's no longer very effective anymore. Now, we're going to talk about the North Star instead. What is the North Star? Well, in navigation, the North Star is something that a traveler would use if he or she is going in a plain sort of biome and they can see the sky filled with stars and one North Star which shows them which way is north. So, what is the North Star of Sony, you would ask? So, here's my interpretation on what I think that is. Sony's television series, which is the Bravia, and Sony's camera series, which is the Alpha. These two, in my interpretation, are Sony's North and South Stars. Let me explain why. That is why I think they are. Now, one would think that the North Star is the thing that generates the most revenue of a company. It could be that, because for Microsoft, Windows is their major product and that's what makes most of their money for them. And by logic, Windows is Microsoft's North Star. No, that's not the logic you should be going after. Instead, think of it like this. The North Star is something that guides you when you've lost your path. And now, what Sony's North Stars are doing is basically they help support the other businesses that have started from them. Do you get me? And from those businesses, Sony makes most of their revenue. So, once you have found your North Star, you can roam about freely in this wide open world. And that's also the case in businesses. And that, for Sony, is their TVs and their audio products to an extent, and their cameras. Even if you searched the Goldilocks and you served the bears instead if you couldn't find the Goldilocks, and then you found your North Star, there is still 2 more things that I found Sony to be doing. Let me show you them. Chapter number 4, Quality in every single particle of the product. You see, people all around the world trust Sony for one reason. If you buy a Sony product, its quality is going to be so astonishing that you're probably going to love it more than any other brand. Basically, when Sony is cooking up a good meal, they ensure that it's tasty as well as it's healthy. And just like any other good 3-star or 5-star restaurant, the cheapest item even on their menu won't probably be of bad quality stuff. Let me give you an example based off of Sony's earphone lineup. They're approximately $10 or 1000 rupees in INR, and the ones I bought, if you take it and compare it with any other competitor in this price, let's say Skullcandy, let's say Boat, let's also say JBL. If you put 3 of them in your ears, not at the same time because that's not possible, but if you do, you will find that sure, bass is better on the Boat, but all of the times, Sony gives you better sound overall. And now, take the Sony earphones and all of the other earphones in your hand and try to feel their quality. You will find something else. That the Sony is also better with wire quality. Now, let me actually show you a graph, and on this graph, I've plotted quality and price. Over a certain price, you don't really get more quality. So what Sony does is they play around this area which is known as the saturation point. This is the place where you get maximum quality for the maximum price, and the others over this are just gimmicks or a little bit of better stuff. So Sony plays in this area, and they always do this. Take a look at all of their products. You will find this everywhere. Now, that's the 4th thing that I would really appreciate Sony for. And the 5th is something that if you don't do it, you're probably not going to grow even if you have all of these other things found out. Chapter 5, Marketing 101. You see, if you have a really good product and you tell no one about it, nobody will know it exists and it will vanish. Now, let's take a case study of how Sony marketed their Xperia phones, which are way overpriced even for the given features, but they can still do it because they're the only competitor in this entire segment. And now, here's an advertisement for the Sony Xperia. Now, note that Sony, unlike Apple, did not just give it to random professionals who are filmmakers and ask them to make movies for them. Sony actively went out of their way to give it to a YouTuber. Sponsorships are pretty expensive, but I mean, they're Sony. How can they not have money? So they actively invite a YouTuber and let them do their thing with it. And now Sony's got free marketing. So, lesson 5. Use existing influence of other people to gain influence for yourself. And yeah, that alone is not just marketing 101 from Sony. They even have more. I could go about this all day, but the other thing is essentially that they pull off publicity stunts quite often. Like, they add this one sort of very huge feature to one of their products. Like, this thing has really fast autofocus, and this thing has like a 1-inch sensor inside a phone. This is the first time. Come here, look at it. That's what they do. Publicity stunts and using existing influence where necessary. Yeah, that's Sony for you. Now, all of this video, I made Sony sound like a really godly company, but they do have their fair share of flaws. Like, the phone is announced this date. Look at the damn release date, buddy. That's not fair. That's not at all fair for the people, because when they hyped this product up this much, when the Sony Xperia came out, everybody was talking about it for a brief period of time. And you're supposed to release that product within that time. Otherwise, people will lose interest. But you know what Sony did? They said, screw that, we're not gonna do that. And yeah, they could have sold more, I believe. And that's just one thing. Sony's messed up on a lot of occasions, on a lot of times. Yeah, that's it for this video. My name is Monish, channel's name's Monster. So that's about it for this video again. My name is Mr. D Boxer, and to you, buddy, I'll be back with another bloody video. Bye. That was cringe. Check out my channel, because it's even more cringe. Mwah.